Hey everybody. So I am driving on the way home, and I was gonna save this for sitting down in front of the computer or going for a walk or something like that. But no, I'm just gonna sit and chat with you guys. I'm gonna pull over here so I don't cause any issues. But oftentimes whenever you're looking at like a lot of these dog interviews and stuff like that, dog breeder interviews or dog man interviews, you'll see this question that comes up of who should own your breed. And I want to take a moment to kind of talk on that a little bit. But anyway, in the movie Ratatouille, the Chef Gusteau says that anyone can cook, and of course the food critic Ego says absolutely not. And I think that if you were to ask me the question of who should own a Tosa, and we could zoom out and say in general who should own a dog, who should own any breed given any given dog, I would say, as Chef Gusteau, anyone can own a Tosa, anyone can have a dog. Now, of course, as the food critic will say, rightfully pushed for clarification on that point, you can't say that everybody should own one. And I want to be clear, there's a difference between anybody and everybody. As you watch through the Ratatouille, that's how we say it in English, you will find that the Chef Gusteau is proven right, and Ego is actually educated along the line of what it actually means. And he says at the end that by saying anyone could cook, he doesn't mean that everyone can or that everyone should, but that anyone from anywhere, the most humblest of beginnings or the highest of society, anyone can have it in them to drive to become a good cook. And I think that the same thing is true when it comes to who should own a Tosa. And if I were to throw in an extra analogy, I would say in the same along the same line, what dog breeds bite, or what dogs bite, right? I mean, if you're looking at the news, it's the pit bull, right? Or any of the Italian Mastiffs, any working dog, really. That's the ones they like to villainize. But anyway, in any working dog, those are the ones that bite. But Labradors don't bite. Yorkies don't bite. Small dogs don't bite. Any dog that was bred with the intention of making a pet dog, companion breeds, they don't bite. They don't cause trouble, right? Right. That's totally accurate. Anyway, when it comes to the question there, to me, whenever somebody asks me that question as a dog trainer, or makes something along the line that kind of begs that question, like, oh my goodness, I got a Portuguese water dog, they're not supposed to bite. We have Cocker Spaniels, they don't get aggressive. And it's like, the whole framing of the question, the whole framing of the conversation is already wrong. And I need to address the underlying ideas that this statement is built on. And the same thing is true when it comes to who should own a Tosa. Let me tell you my story. I was 12 when I lost my then current dog, who I had begun to train. I had begun learning dog training and was doing very good with that dog. He was the best trained dog that our family had ever owned. And his name was Casey. He was really the only trained dog our family had ever owned. So don't think I was, some guru or anything. It's just that I wanted a well-behaved dog. I wanted to prove how well he could be. And a lot of that had to do with teasing from my brothers. At that time, they were teasing me about his smarts or whatever. So I wanted to prove what he could do. And I started learning about dog training, found out it was something I was super interested in on its own right. And just started learning and learning as much as I could. And and I was 12. So it's not like I was some adult learning and dedicated in my studies. No, I still spent more time on video games and playing with the dogs and doing other kidly things, you know. That was what I did. And 4 years from the passing of that dog to the acquisition of my next dog, 4 or 5 years or so. And in that time, I was looking up breeds, looking up information, found a Tosa, realized I couldn't get one. Ended up getting one. Long story short, the first one I got was Sarabi, and I was 17 years old at the time. Now, if I was to go and talk to, pick your Tosa person, pick somebody who's had them, anybody who's had them, and ask them, should a 17-year-old kid be allowed to get a Tosa? They would tell you absolutely not, just as a rule. And to be fair, the average 17-year-old probably doesn't need a dog in general, but let alone a dog like that. Now, I understand I'm contradicting myself. But when it comes to it, the Tosa is an entirely different ball game from just getting them a poodle, right? Or something like that. Something like that. We have to turn around. I need to get some stuff for New Year's. But when it comes to it, just think about that for a moment. Like, if you know a 17-year-old, take a moment and think about that child, right? I won't say I was exactly like your average 17-year-old. No. But I certainly wasn't some prodigy or virtuoso that should automatically qualify for having a Tosa or Rottweiler, any serious working breed, right? At least not by most people's standards. And yet, I got Sarabi. I'm not trying to brag on myself, but I have no reservations in saying she was hands down the best behaved Tosa in the US at her time. Period. Best trained, best behaved. And I know many people who met her and would agree. And that doesn't mean that I had her trained to jump through flaming hoops or anything like that. I didn't spend a whole lot of time on that sort of training, but as far as behavior around people, behavior with kids, with animals, all that other kind of stuff, she was hands down, in my opinion, the best behaved and best trained Tosa in the US. And then she was exceeded by, again, the second Tosa that I got, who I won't say did as well with strangers as he grew up, but as far as the hoops that I had him jump through, the flaming hoops that I had him jump through, he was like Sarabi plus, you know. So again, when it comes to it, I don't think that there were really many people that were spending a whole lot of time training Tosas, even to this day. And historically, they're not really a dog that people think of competing in obedience. And yet my dogs could outperform German Shepherds. They could outperform Poodles, Labs. They were doing circles around these dogs. And again, if you're looking at just the basic question, right, of who should own a Tosa Inu, a 17-year-old should not. And yet and still, you have this 17-year-old that made the best behaved, and then made one that exceeded that, and just kept on going from there. And that's something that I want to be clear. If you say, for instance, certain breeds do bite and certain breeds don't, you take away the responsibility of the person looking at the dog to be aware of what state of mind the dog is in. Is that dog growling at you? I don't care what breed it is, it's gonna bite. If that dog is showing you signs that you need to keep your distance, it's gonna bite if you contradict that, you know, or cross that line. So when it comes to it, again, Don't think which breeds bite and which breeds don't. Look at the dog as an individual. And the same thing is true when it comes to who should own Tosas. I wasn't just 17 when I got my first one and a teenager through all the formative years of having them. I was also at several different points living in an apartment with multiple Tosas. I was homeless for a little bit there with Tosas, and when it came to the way the dogs were treated, the way the dogs behaved, I would still submit my dogs as the best behaved dogs in the nation as far as the breed is concerned, for certain. And then as far as they probably would hold their own against just any other breed if you were to put out other individuals from other breeds as well in that quest to find the best behaved dogs. So again, if we were to say that you can't live in an apartment and have a Tosa, then that makes me a hypocrite. If we were to say you have to be above a certain age, then that makes me a hypocrite. If we were to say any of the things, the outside things that have no real bearing on how well you can manage a dog, if we were to say any of those things that that most people look for in a potential dog owner, are the things that are required to have a Tosa, then I would be a hypocrite on every last one. Not some, not most, but all. I would be a hypocrite to say that. And I stand here as proof to you that ultimately, the greatest things to decide whether or not you're going to be a great Tosa owner, they have nothing to do with how many dogs you've owned, because I've seen people with many dogs that can't manage the dogs that they have. And it could be somebody who has many dogs currently. It could be somebody who's had a history of having multiple dogs. They've probably had dogs into the hundreds, bred, all this other kind of stuff, and they still don't know how to deal with the single dog that they've got, you know? And when it comes to it, like, I've known people that, I knew a lady who, I'm not going to share names or anything like this, but just case in point, I knew a lady who was a horse trainer, absolute brilliant horse trainer, could work with any horse, rehabilitated horses that people said were too far gone. She could go in there, this little itty bitty girl could go in there and grab a Clydesdale by the ear, twist that ear, pull that horse down to her height, and tell that horse what it's going to do and what it's not going to do. She was utterly fearless. And yet her life was being run by a handicapped dachshund. Handicapped, not just a dachshund, but a handicapped dachshund that was having hip issues. So it couldn't even like get around, you know, really. But it was running and controlling her life. And when it comes to it, being able to say that she should be able to deal with any dog, yes, she should be able to. But you got to look at the person that's in front of you and work with the person that's in front of you. Now, it didn't take much talking with her and kind of going over what it takes to work with the dog to where she was instantly got it. She was ready, and she put that dachshund in line like nobody's business. But when it came to it again, it wasn't that she just had all these qualifications that translated so well into dog training. That link had to be made, and it's here. It's here. That's what I would say. It's not, I don't care if you've had 30 Tosas before. If you never learned how to work with one, then it doesn't matter. You just have 30 things that you never learned how to work with. I mean, how many people, we're here at the grocery store, how many people here know how to drive a car? How many of them have had more than one car? Probably several have had many cars, trucks, SUVs, several varieties of vehicles. But who would you trust to win the 24 Hours of Le Mans? Which of these people would you choose to even try it, you know? And when it comes to it, just having a bunch of something doesn't mean you learned from them or learned the right thing from them, right? Things can happen and people take it different ways, and you can have a situation that happens and people take the wrong lesson from it. They do it all the time. But they think it's true because it seems to point to that, and they never actually get the opportunity to put what they think is true to the test. And therefore it stands unchallenged, right? So when it comes to it, what I think makes a good Tosa owner is somebody who here has decided, I'm going to learn whatever it takes to do the best with this dog. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to do the best with this dog. That could be somebody who's never had a Tosa before. That could be somebody who's never, never had a dog before. But if somebody is, for instance, never had a dog before, but they're using me as a resource, somebody who's, they're using me as their breeder as a resource, there's no such thing as too many calls, too much, you're bugging me, you know, yada, yada, yada. No, anything that's going to help you succeed, that's why I'm here. I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to answer your questions. I'm going to help you to get whatever information you need to be successful. If I don't know it, I'm going to find someone who does. I know someone who does, and we're going to find it. We're going to get you the answers that you need and help you to succeed. And if you can use that as a resource, and I'm not talking about me only, but if you can use other people who have that experience and have that knowledge as a resource, you're going to do better than somebody who has more experience than you, but not much experience as them. You get what I'm saying? You know, so hopefully you guys are understanding what I'm saying here. Hang on.
Hey baby, I hear the blues are calling.
Hey baby. Bye-bye. Sorry about that. Had to chat with my sweetie pie. But I was probably getting off on a tangent anyway. But I just want to be sure and say that there's no one size fits all to a Tosa owner. I would say there are certain bottom lines that we can say. Again, if you can say that you're willing to do what it takes to be the best trainer, best dog owner you can be, rather. If you're willing to say that you're going to make whatever you do work and work at it, then I see no reason why you can't be a Tosa owner, be this your first dog or your 1,000th. I do think there are some things that are easier to learn on certain other breeds, but I mean, honestly, I can't even say that, because as a trainer, I'm going to go ahead and call bullcrap on the idea that just because you got one breed or another, you're going to have an easier time than any other given breed. I've seen Labradors that are absolute nightmares for the average person. I've seen, honestly, any dog that can come in a working line is not a dog that you should be looking at by those standards for a first-time dog owner, because especially with dogs like Labradors, Golden Retrievers, dogs that are used for serious work, but they aren't promoted for it, you can end up with a working line dog and not know it, and God bless you. If you're not ready for it, God bless you. Whatever the dog was bred to do, if they have the energy and drive to sustain, to complete sustained work, God bless you if you're not ready for it. I don't care what they were bred to do originally. If you're not meeting that working dog where they're at and working them mentally, if nothing else, then God bless you. May God have mercy on your eternal soul, right? So again, saying that this breed or that breed is better for the first-time dog owner, I don't think so. I've never seen any correlation between certain breeds and people needing my services as a dog trainer behavior therapist more. I have seen correlations between a dog's popularity and the need for qualified training, but it has less to do with the breed itself and more to do with the people that got them thought that, oh, I saw one and it was cute and I just wanted to get one, and they didn't learn anything about them or learn how to work with dogs, period. It's a fad to them, you know? So when it comes to it, as far as what we should be looking at, what I tend to look at when I'm looking at whether or not somebody's going to make a great dog owner, a great Tosa owner, it's the same stuff whether I'm looking as a dog trainer and behavior therapist and advising somebody whether or not they should rehome their dog, which generally I don't do. Or somebody who's coming to me and trying to get a puppy from me, same criteria, because quite frankly, dogs are dogs first. If you're going to succeed with a Tosa, you'll succeed with a Chihuahua. If you're going to succeed with a Chihuahua, you'll succeed with a Tosa. And the reason why is because dogs are dogs first. Now, if you're going to cut corners with a Chihuahua, you're going to see problems. If you're going to cut corners with a Tosa, you're going to see likely the same problems. But the issue is those problems are on a 5-pound dog versus a 120-pound dog, right? So when it comes to it, a bad owner is a bad owner. Or should I say rather, a bad leader, a poor leader, let's put it like that, is a poor leader, period. It doesn't matter what you're leading. It's going to show. And the idea that it's somehow okay to do it with a Chihuahua, I think is kind of jacked up and unfair to Chihuahuas. If I was a Chihuahua and I was sitting next to somebody who said something stupid like that, like, oh, you're an inexperienced breeder, go learn on Chihuahuas, I would bite you too. I would hunt you down and bite you. That's exactly what I would do, because it's stupid. Like, why would you say that? What dog would you sacrifice on the altar of somebody's insistent ignorance, right? There's not a breed that's appropriate for that. And that's it, you know. So just kind of getting back to that question of who should own a Tosa, I think anybody who's prepared for it. I don't care which number dog this is. I don't care what experience they have. I've known people that have had many other working breeds, working dogs, and they're not ready for a Tosa, period. They're not ready for one of my dogs. I'm not going to sell a dog to them. And then I've known people who this might be their first dog. And I've worked with them. Yeah, I've absolutely gotten them their Tosa. And they did great. Absolutely great. The dog did great. They did great. But part of the reason is because it was their first dog, it wasn't working with a cup that was already full, trying to share information and help them. It was an open book. It was a empty cup. They were just ready to learn. And they made awesome dog owners. To this day, they're still awesome dog owners. They're awesome family people. They're awesome human individuals, you know? So when it comes down to it, I think there's a lot to be said there. And we'll get into more of this kind of stuff here in a bit, but I just wanted to start with that. And I think the next thing we're going to talk about is this whole adopt, don't shop thing, because I'm working as a dog trainer and behavior therapist, as well as a dog breeder, and I've been doing both for equally as long. And I've also volunteered, I don't know how many hundreds of hours working with different shelters across the state of Texas. So when it comes to it, I do have some thoughts on that adopt, don't shop thing that might not be what most people might say. But I do have some thoughts on that. And they're kind of along the lines of what you might expect to hear coming from somebody who just said, just because you went and got a flat-coated retriever doesn't mean it's not going to attack anybody. It does. I don't care what the breed description says at the AKC. I've trained flat-coated retrievers to stop attacking people. I've trained Dobermans. I've trained Rottweilers. I've worked with Cocker Spaniels. I've worked with Shetland Sheepdogs. I've worked with Golden Retrievers, Labradors. One of the worst cases was a Labrador.
Still feels responsible, I guess.
No, he does that all the time. Wow.
Okay. So,
You know, we can keep going down this list of dogs that don't bite people, and I can point out to you different spots where I've been bitten by them. You can kind of see one on my hand there, on the back of my hand from one more recently. You know, I mean, we can just go down the list if you'd like. But at the end of the day, a good leader and a knowledgeable dog owner is going to be good no matter what they get. Not to say that they won't have things that are curveballs and different and new experiences, but if they also have resources around them, people around them who they can call and ask for help and get information from, there is no way they're going to fail, period. But on the same token, if somebody doesn't have those things that make you succeed, but they have years of experience with dogs, a ton of money, a ton of property and acreage, a big house, a big car. You just keep going down the list of all the things that people care about but really don't really matter. They're not going to succeed. Period. They don't go out and get help. They don't know when they need help. They don't work to learn. They don't work to grow. They don't work with their dogs. That is a recipe for disaster. No matter what breed you have, no matter what dog you have, no matter what age, what gender, what color, doesn't matter. That is a recipe for disaster. So, who should own a Tosa? Who can own a Tosa, rather? Anybody. Anybody. Thank you. Thank you guys so very much for checking out our channel, for watching our videos. I hope I wasn't too boring. Thank you for following us or watching us. If you do not already follow us, please follow. If you have not liked this video, please like, and please subscribe, and you'll be able to keep up with the next videos we put out about Tosas. We love what we do here. There'll definitely be more videos. And you can learn a bit more about the breed, learn a bit more about us, and hopefully it'll be stuff that you'll find useful. One other thing I would say is that if you can, please share our information. I know a lot of people will say share, but for us it's actually more important. You may not know this, but the Tosa is what we might consider an endangered species here in the US and even in the West. I would say the place that the place that the Tosa is right now is not unlike the place where the pit bull was in the mid-50s throughout the 70s, in that they no longer are used for their original purpose here in the US. Thank God. They are not used for their original purpose. So that kind of leaves a vacuum. The breed's notoriety is going down in that vacuum, but what that opens the door for is for bad actors to get a hold of what remaining specimens there are and use them for, we'll say, nefarious purposes. And when it comes to it, this is a wonderful breed. We just barely got the pit bull to where it's like 50-50 publicity, right? I'd hate for the Tosa to be the next dog everybody hates. So please share as much as you can. Get the information out there about the breed. It took so long for the pit bull to make a comeback, not because of breeding and responsible breeding practice. No, there's always been people that have been breeding pit bulls responsibly. You know, what it took was having people in their corner. Advocates, people who could stand up and say, that's not the way pit bulls act in reality. That's a dog that's been abused. That's a dog that's been mistreated. That's a dog that's been mistrained. And that can happen to any breed, you know? And the more that those people get out there, the more you see the pit bull coming out in a better light, you know? Unfortunately, it's still got a long way to go, but that was the change. And the same thing is true for the Tosa. We need people who are going to get out there and say, hey, look, that behavior right there, that's not a Tosa. This, that, the other thing, that's not Tosa behavior. This is an example of an unfortunate set of circumstances that befell an individual dog. It is not what is to be expected of the breed as a whole. So when it comes to it, I think it's super important that you share, even more than liking and subscribing, which would be awesome. But share so that the information gets out there and more people learn the truth about the Tosa. All of it, not just the fighting past, but where they are today and where they're heading. Hopefully, more people will see this, more people will share, and the information will be out there. Again, you don't necessarily have to want to get a Tosa yourself, but learn about the breed. We need more advocates. Hopefully, some people watching this will find that true and become an advocate for this wonderful, amazing breed. Thank you guys so much for your time. We'll let you go and enjoy your life, and let Mr. Dante get on to his kibble for the day.